In a world of wealth and pride, one moment would expose the truth. The cameras flashed, the music roared, and the mansion's pool glittered like a jewel beneath the blazing sun. It was a day of celebration for the millionaire's family, but joy turned to horror in a single heartbeat. His only daughter, confined to her wheelchair, fragile, yet full of life, slipped forward and plunged into the pool. The crowd gasped, their laughter silenced. Her arms flailed, her cries muffled by water as bubbles rose to the surface. Seconds felt like hours. Dozens of men stood frozen, staring. Not one moved, not one dared. Fear, pride, and selfishness chained them in place. And then came the voice that would ignite every viewer's heart. When courage fails the powerful, will the overlooked rise to answer? In that silence, only one figure moved. Not a guest, not a friend, not a hero the world expected, but the janitor's son. He was just a boy, unnoticed, unseen, standing at the edge of luxury he didn't belong to. The son of a janitor, dressed in plain clothes, his shoes worn, his presence invisible among the glittering suits and gowns. Yet in that single moment when the world froze, his heart moved faster than thought. Without hesitation, he charged forward. Guests gasped as he sprinted past them, his feet pounding against the marble floor, his eyes locked on the drowning girl. Some sneered, others shouted, "Stop! You'll embarrass yourself!" But he didn't hear them. He couldn't. All he saw was life slipping away before his eyes. The millionaire's daughter thrashed weakly, her cries now fading under the weight of water. Time was running out. And as others hesitated, trapped by pride and fear, he dove, splitting the water like a blade. In that instant, the world changed. The son of a janitor had become the only hope. The water swallowed him whole. For a heartbeat, silence, then chaos. The boy's arms cut through the pool, searching, reaching, fighting against the weight that pulled her down. The millionaire's daughter sank deeper, her eyes wide with fear, her fragile body flailing weakly. Around the pool's edge, voices rose in panic. "She's not moving," one cried. "He'll never make it," another shouted. The black-tie crowd leaned in, but not one of them stepped forward. They froze, trapped in their fear, in their arrogance, watching a boy they once overlooked battle for a life worth more than gold. Bubbles ripped through the surface, then vanished. Seconds stretched into eternity. Was he too late? The air grew heavier, the silence sharper. Every eye locked on the water's surface, waiting, praying. Then suddenly a surge! His head broke through, gasping for air, his arms wrapped tightly around the girl. He had found her. He had not failed. The crowd erupted, but relief was short-lived. Dragging her to the surface was only the beginning. The girl's body hung limp in his arms, her head tilted back, her lips pale. She wasn't breathing. The boy kicked desperately, every muscle straining as he fought to keep her above water. "Get them out!" Someone screamed, but no one moved. Not the guards, not the guests, not even her own father. They stood frozen, helpless in their fear, as the janitor's son carried the weight of 2 lives alone. His chest burned, lungs screaming for air, but he refused to stop. With every stroke, the edge of the pool seemed farther away, the distance stretching like a cruel test of his will. The sound of splashing echoed louder than the crowd's gasps. His mind screamed one truth: she cannot die here. With one final surge of strength, he propelled them both toward the edge, toward a chance at life. The boy heaved her onto the tiles, collapsing beside her, chest heaving, water streaming down his face. The poolside fell into utter silence. Not a cheer, not a cry. Only the sound of water dripping onto stone. The millionaire froze in horror, his world collapsing as he looked at his daughter's lifeless body. The guests, moments ago laughing and sipping champagne, now stood in shock, their faces pale. The janitor's son leaned over her, hands trembling, yet his eyes fierce with determination. He pressed against her chest, again and again, willing her heart to beat. Time slowed. Every second stretched into eternity. The world held its breath. Would she live? Or would this moment be carved forever into tragedy? And then, nothing. Her chest did not rise. Her lips remained still. The silence grew heavier, a weight no one could bear. Hope flickered like a dying flame. And then, suddenly, a sound shattered the silence. A gasp, shallow, fragile, but alive. Her chest rose, water spilling from her lips as she coughed, desperate for breath. The crowd erupted, voices colliding in disbelief and relief. The millionaire collapsed to his knees, tears streaming as he clutched his daughter's hand. His pride stripped away, his heart laid bare. The boy stumbled back, exhausted, shaking, his clothes soaked through, but his eyes locked only on her safety. For that moment, he was not the janitor's son. He was the hero the world had overlooked. The whispers spread fast. He saved her! He saved her! The same people who once mocked now stared in awe, their arrogance silenced by the undeniable truth before their eyes. A life saved, a soul restored, a father humbled, and a boy who carried nothing but courage had rewritten the story of them all. The millionaire's voice broke, trembling as he pulled his daughter close. "My child! My angel!" He wept, his words echoing with a pain money could never shield him from. The crowd fell silent, their laughter, their mockery, all gone. In its place, shame. Every cruel word, every arrogant glance now hung heavy in the air. Slowly, the father turned, his tear-filled eyes finding the boy who still stood drenched, trembling but unbroken. "Son," his voice cracked, softer than anyone had ever heard it. "I owe you everything. Forgive me. Forgive us all." Those words, raw and unpolished, carried more weight than any fortune. The boy said nothing. He didn't need to. His courage had spoken louder than any speech could. And in that silence, the lesson settled into every heart watching. True worth is not measured by wealth, but by character. And today, the richest man in the room was not the millionaire. It was the janitor's son. Then it happened. The silence cracked, not with whispers, not with ridicule, but with applause. One hand at first, then another, until the entire crowd rose to their feet. Thunderous claps, cheers, voices breaking the air with respect the boy had never known. "He saved her!" someone cried. "That boy is a hero!" another shouted. The very same people who once looked down on him now stood in awe, humbled by his courage. And there he was, the janitor's son, dripping wet, his chest rising and falling with exhaustion, his eyes still carrying the weight of what just happened. He did not bask in their praise. He did not demand recognition. He simply stood steady, silent, his bravery shining brighter than any words. In that moment, no amount of wealth, no status, no title could overshadow him, for he had done what none of them dared. And before their eyes, the boy once mocked had become something far greater, an undeniable hero. The millionaire rushed forward, his face pale, his hands trembling as he reached for his daughter. Tears streamed down his cheeks as he held her close, whispering her name over and over. But then, his eyes lifted to the boy who stood dripping before him. For a moment, pride and arrogance shattered, leaving only raw humanity. He stumbled forward, his voice breaking. "Son, you saved her life." Around them, the silence deepened. This was the same man who once ignored, who once dismissed the janitor and his family. Yet here he was, kneeling, overwhelmed with gratitude. He tried to speak more, but the weight of shame tangled his words. The boy said nothing. His calm presence, his humble stance, spoke louder than any answer could. Respect had shifted, power had shifted, and the room knew wealth may build empires, but true greatness is revealed in the heart. The millionaire bowed his head, his voice trembling, with words he never thought he'd speak. "I owe you everything." Gasps echoed. Never had anyone seen this man humbled, brought low not by force, but by truth. The janitor stepped forward, placing a steady hand on his son's shoulder. His voice, calm yet commanding, carried through the stunned crowd. "Strength is not in wealth. Honor is not in titles. True greatness is measured by the choices we make when no one is watching." The words struck like thunder. Parents held their children tighter, eyes wide with realization. The daughter, safe now, whispered softly, "Thank you," her voice trembling with sincerity. And then came the silence, the kind that lingers, the kind that changes hearts forever. For in that moment the world saw it clearly. Respect cannot be bought. It is earned. And sometimes the greatest heroes wear no crown.